It is Terra Water. That's what I was afraid of, basically. Oh, I forgot the Sunsteel Strike ignores abilities. Hey, there's something for Solgaleo here. Alright, back to the Wheel of Names to choose our legendary Pokemon for this week. I love legendary Pokemon. That's why I'm doing this. Let's see what we got. Will it be another one that I didn't think about at all going in? Ooh, it almost stopped on Cosmo M, but it is this time going to be Solgaleo. That means for the first time the wheel has suggested a restricted Pokemon, which does narrow down the options a little bit, as I will only get one other. So what can I do with Solgaleo? It is, to be honest, probably not very good in this format. But the main thing to be done with it, I think, is to take advantage of Full Metal Body and use a partner with Bulldoze to activate a weakness policy. Full Metal Body, of course, will also make it immune to Intimidate, although Incineroar can still burn it. Or hit it with Knockoff, although if I activate the weakness policy, then of course it doesn't have an item to knock off anymore. Some kind of Terra Fire situation ought to be reasonably good here, though. No Intimidate, no burn if it's terastallized. Solgaleo is not slow, but not fast either, so I could do a Tail Room kind of setup with multiple ways to break the weakness policy, even. Does Brutal Swing exist in Scarlet and Violet? It does. It's learned by Hatterene, Okidogi, Sandaconda, Tinkaton. And their Prevos. There's nothing super inspiring there. Even Okidogi is not that inspiring because I kind of have an answer to Intimidate already, but maybe I could make Okidogi work with, like... I mean, the fighting typing could be valuable. But then Okidogi hits so hard, I don't want to be clicking Brutal Swing with that. What gets Bulldoze in this game? The other thing about Bulldoze, of course, is it'll lower the opponent's speed if they're grounded. Not mean to select Tauros. I don't think we'll be using Tauros. Bulldoze lowers the opponent's speed if they're grounded, so that's a point... Why do I keep doing that? That's a point in favor of a Tailwind setup. There are quite a few restricted Pokemon that get Bulldoze, actually. I don't know if that's necessarily the route I want to go. I don't hate Shadow Rider Calyrex as the other restricted partner. It's fast, it's a special attacker. It does mean that I have Dark Weakness on both, but there are ways to get around that. But I don't think it's worth running Bulldoze on a restricted Pokemon. Actually, Shadow Rider might be an exception because it's just so very fast. You can pull the move off before much else happens. Who else is there? A lot of Pokemon. Does anyone really stand out? Bronzong has the same typing as Solgaleo and is more of a Trick Room kind of option. That's not necessarily the worst thing, though. I think we probably want to go in a Tail Room direction here. Dunsparce is funny. Also, again, want the Bulldoze to not hit very hard, so things like Entei and Garchomp are probably not the answer. Nor Glastrier. Nor Gouging Fire. Nor Great Tusk. There's Heatran. There's Hydreigon. There's Iron Crown. Same typing again. And it's not amazing typing. Landorus. Landorus could be good, actually. I could do like Solgaleo, Kyogre, Rain, Tornadus, Landorus. I could do something like that. I'm honestly getting bored of scrolling this list, and I think that actually probably works well enough for my purposes here. I could also run Weirdier to set Trick Room if I want, or Solgaleo can just set its own Trick Room. I don't think I really have room for Weirdier on this format on this team. Let's do Kyogre as the restricted partner. Let's pencil in Tornadus and Landorus. And then I probably want a Grass type. Well, okay, what do I want in the other two spots? Another Pokemon that could play nicely in Trick Room might be good. So I could consider Amoonguss. I actually think Amoonguss is pretty reasonable here because it also can help keep Kyogre and Solgaleo healthy and give them openings to sweep. Rillaboom is also certainly an option. And then I want answers to... Well, okay, Miraidon is checked a little bit by Landorus. Rillaboom could be helpful into that. Opposing Shadow Rider stuff... I am pretty weak to that right now. So probably want a strong answer. Which would be what? Rillaboom is again helpful into that, because I can run an Assault Vest on it. And I get priority Grassy Glide in grassy terrain. So I think Amoonguss is just not bringing as much to the table here as Rillaboom is. And for the last Pokemon, I could do Chien-Pao to help me with Shadow Rider stuff. I don't think that's a bad idea. It also pairs nicely with Rillaboom and Solgaleo, but not so much with the other half of the team. But that's not necessarily the worst thing. I mean, Chien-Pao is a very good Pokemon in its own right. I could do Incineroar. Incineroar might be the call here, actually. Is there like a good fairy type that I can run? That's helpful in these positions. I don't think there is. I think it's probably either Chien-Pao or Incineroar. And I think when in doubt, I'm just gonna pencil in an Incineroar. So, alright, I'll fill in the rest of the details off recording, because I think that gets boring quickly. At least it does for me, so probably for you as well, when I'm the one recording it. And we'll skip to the finished team. Okay, so I'm not sure this idea really works as well as I hoped. A few things to note. First of all, between recording sessions, I did consider changing the Incineroar slot to Grimmsnarl. I thought screens and speed and damage reduction could be valuable here, but I think I prefer having Incineroar available to throw at certain Shadow Rider compositions, especially if they have Indeedee to set up Psychic Terrain and make Grimmsnarl sad. Snarl and Incineroar could be very valuable there, and then of course I also have the double Fake Out core with Rillaboom, hard to go wrong with that. What is easy to go wrong with is not running Sheer Force on Landorus, because I realized Bulldoze doesn't lower speed when it's boosted by Sheer Force. That is a secondary effect. It does activate the weakness policy on Solgaleo, and it does chip opponents, but if I'm using Bulldoze, I probably want to try to take some advantage of the speed lowering effect and Solgaleo being immune to that. So I've gone to Sand Force Landorus. Probably not going to hit as hard as I want. That special attack stat is not that great without Sheer Force. I also have a Focus Sash on it because I have Bulldoze slotted in instead of Protect. Maybe those Sandseer Storms and Rain will be worth it. Maybe I want to play with the set some more. Or go back to the drawing board. We'll find out. Choice Specs Kyogre. I like Choice Kyogre to just throw off big damage. I have Tailwind. I have Bulldoze for a little bit of extra speed control. What I don't have here is any Trick Room component. I decided I valued the close combat coverage on Solgaleo. Maybe I could have dropped one of the stab attacks. Maybe we'll find that out as I play. Because I think that with Specs Kyogre and Assault Vest Rillaboom, Choice Scarf... Nope, not Choice Scarf. Trick Room could actually be pretty valuable here. But, in this version, at least, I didn't have room for it. Otherwise, things are, I think, largely pretty standard here, so we're going to see how it goes. But yeah, the Landorus set being cannibalized like this by the weakness policy gimmick is definitely a little bit sad. We'll see how that goes. First opponent has Miraidon, Groudon, Raging Bolt, Iron Crown, Volcarona, and Farigiraf. This does feel like a game where I can kind of just throw Landorus at them immediately. I could do Landorus Tornadus, I could do Landorus Kyogre, but then they probably have the Groudon available to switch in. I could try Landorus Solgaleo. It's a little bit forced here, I don't know that it'll work well. Of course, I also can't bring all four of those Pokemon and then also Rillaboom to change the terrain. It's the first game of the video. Let's lead Landorus Solgaleo. And I think I'll bring Kyogre and Rillaboom in the back. We'll see how this goes. They lead Miraidon, Raging Bolt. Okay, so those don't love facing Landorus. And I think I will, in this position, just... They just Volt Switch Solgaleo and knock it out, right? So I can't really just Bulldoze here. I can switch Rillaboom in. Or I can protect Solgaleo. Either way, I probably want to click Sanseer Storm with Landorus and just get what damage I can, even without getting Rain up. Am I protecting Solgaleo, or am I switching Rillaboom in? I'm going to say protect and Sanseer Storm, and preserve the option to potentially go for the Bulldoze setup next turn, except Landorus is going to take a lot of damage from that Dazzling Gleam. Sanseer Storm doesn't do a ton back. It does burn Miraidon, which is, you know, not amazing, but chip damage is chip damage. We see a Rising Voltage come out into Solgaleo, so this is the turn where I want to switch Rillaboom in, I suppose. I think I can just leave Solgaleo in. I can resist the Dazzling Gleam and go for a Sunsteel Strike, honestly, into Miraidon. And yeah, switch Rillaboom in here, change the terrain, turn off their Rising Voltage damage boost. They do leave Miraidon in and go for Dazzling Gleam. It crits Solgaleo. Still doesn't do too much. We get a big Sunsteel Strike KO into Miraidon. That's what I like to see. Good start for Solgaleo in this video. And Grassy Terrain takes it out of range of another Rising Voltage. Groudon comes in. They have used their Terra. I can just Grassy Glide the Groudon if I want. Solgaleo should be faster than both of these Pokemon too. Most likely. And it could be fast Groudon. The other thing though is they can't Precipice Blades and Fire Attack into Rillaboom. So I think I'm okay to try to press the advantage here. Or go for Suns. They've used their Terra already. I'll go for Sunsteel Strike and Grassy Glide into Groudon. They just pivoted out to Farigiraf, so that stops the Grassy Glide. Good stuff from them there. It still takes the Sunsteel Strike, but takes it pretty well. And Solgaleo does still get knocked out by another Rising Voltage. That was definitely a roll based on the earlier damage, but it happens. I guess I'll bring Landorus back. They can't Thunderclap it because it's a ground type. I'll just go straight for an Earth Power into Raging Bolt. Groudon doesn't love taking that on the switch in either, and I can also Woodhammer that slot in case they switch Groudon in. And if I get rid of Groudon, I still haven't used my Terra yet. Kyogre in the back can probably just win with the Grass Terra. They do switch Groudon in. It takes an Earth Power, takes a Woodhammer, gets knocked out. What does Farigiraf go for? Trick Room. Okay. That's kind of dangerous, but again, full HP Kyogre with Weather Control and the Terra Grass, I think should be able to win this. I'll click Earth Power into the Raging Bolt slot, and I don't have high horsepower on this Rillaboom. I'll just click Woodhammer into Farigiraf, I guess. Okay, they knock Landorus out. Rising Voltage doesn't do very much to Rillaboom. Assault Vest resisted. Grassy Terrain, and I still have Rillaboom on the board along with Kyogre. The Raging Bolt has still only shown Rising Voltage, and both my Pokemon are about to resist that, and I can just safely Ice Beam, and might as well Woodhammer. Should still do good damage with that Terrain boost and everything. They crit Kyogre with the Rising Voltage, but it doesn't do very much through the Grass Terra. And Kyogre closes this game out after Solgaleo knocked out the Miraidon, so both parts of this restricted pair putting in some work there. But I did not pull off the weakness policy attack in that game. Here we have a Shadow Rider Miraidon team. This team is turbo fast and pretty dangerous, and the kind of thing that is a little bit hard to overcome when you are making yourself use Solgaleo. But I'll see what I can do here. Honestly, I'm just going to go for it again. If it's some kind of Whimsicott lead, then Whimsicott itself is not an offensive threat to Solgaleo, and there's just the other Pokemon to worry about, which is still a big, but anyway. Do I bring Tornadus to this one? I kind of feel like I have to match their Tailwind with my Tailwind, but I don't know if I have room for it, because that means, again, either Kyogre or Rillaboom has to stay home. The other thing about the Solgaleo play is it is making these team choices a bit more difficult. I'm going to bring Kyogre and Rillaboom and try to do this one without Tailwind, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, if I see Whimsicott lead from the other side, Sash Landorus should probably be able to get through the turn. Solgaleo is a lot dicier. Maybe I can Terra Fire in front of Calyrex. I'm obviously forcing it a little bit, but like if I were going to a regional right now, I don't think I'd be bringing Solgaleo at all. So, what can you do? Okay, it's Rapid Striker, Shifu, and Miraidon, so that runs very counter to what I was just talking about. Yeah, the theory doesn't work at all. I think I'm going to switch Solgaleo out to Rillaboom so that it's just not just knocked out by a Volt Switch or something. And I actually kind of want to Terra Ghost Landorus. It probably doesn't take a Surging Strikes anyway, though, does it? Alright, I'll just click Earth Power into Miraidon, and they probably won't let me, but... I mean, if it's not Scarfed or Shifu, Landorus might be faster, but no. Probably is Scarf or Shifu. Rillaboom takes a fair bit from Electro Drift, but it could be worse. We see that it's Life Orb Miraidon, so it's not choice locked. I don't really see what choice I have except to bring Solgaleo back here. Well, Terra Grass Kyogre is the other choice. Actually, I think Terra Grass Kyogre is probably the answer here. Since I think it's Scarf or Shifu, I don't think it has a Focus Sash. I'll Grassy Glide it anyway because it will resist this Origin Pulse that's coming out. I think Kyogre takes at least one hit before it gets to attack. That's why I'm clicking Origin Pulse instead of Water Spout. I switch your Shifu out to Whimsicott. Protect Miraidon. And Origin Pulse misses Whimsicott. Okay. The Whimsicott is kind of free to do what it wants here. An Encore would not be the worst thing. I have some good attacks coming out here. And I'm going to do them again anyway. Just Tailwind. Miraidon takes his priority Grassy Glide and then Volt switches out. Who's coming in on the Origin Pulse? Is it Urshifu? It is Urshifu. Makes sense. Still does a lot of damage. They can switch Miraidon back in now and turn off my priority, so I probably want to pivot Rillaboom out of here. I can click U-turn, actually, I think. No, because they can Encore. Yeah, to switch an Origin Pulse and hope it works out. I feel like I'm kind of stuck without really having other options here. See what they come up with here. They switch the Miraidon in for the Whimsicott. Okay, what does the Urshifu do? Oh, it could U-turn. It does, but into Solgaleo, not Kyogre, so that's good. Kyogre still sitting here at full HP, but of course I'm choice locked into Origin Pulse. But we do get 2 KOs with it here. We'll see now Urshifu and their last Pokemon, which unsurprisingly is the Shadow Rider Calyrex. Unfortunately, that means that Solgaleo is kind of a free KO for Shadow Rider, but I can at least protect it this turn. Urshifu can still damage it, but Urshifu doesn't have Grim Neigh, so I'm less worried about that. But that's just a big close combat into Kyogre, and they're going to knock that out with the Astral Barrage and get their Grim Neigh anyway. I get Grassy Terrain back, but with Calyrex at +1 and Solgaleo extremely vulnerable, yeah, I'm in danger here. Maybe, honestly, I want Wide Guard on Solgaleo. But I don't know, Protect has felt important so far. I never thought Solgaleo would be a Pokemon with 4 move slot syndrome, but I've already dropped the idea of Trick Room, and now I kind of feel like I want Wide Guard, but I don't have room for it. I'm going to fish for a double Protect. What that gives me is, yeah, if Rillaboom survives this turn, then there's the spread damage reduction from their next Astral Barrage. It's not going to matter. I had to get rid of Urshifu. Nah, I never had any chance to win at this point. I just click Sunsteel Strike. Drop to this Astral Barrage. Okay. Well, it's an uphill battle here with Solgaleo. It's how it goes sometimes. Could be worse. The wheel could have actually stopped on Cosmo M. Here's an Ice Rider Miraidon team with Rillaboom. Interesting. 2 different terrain setters. What's this called? Iron Treads. Some kind of Urshifu and Whimsicott. I'm going to bring the Landorus Solgaleo lead. I really would like it to work at some point. So we'll keep trying to force it for now. And Kyogre Rillaboom in the back again. Okay, they lead Rillaboom Whimsicott. So they have Fake Out available. I can Terra Ghost Landorus. And I actually think I'm going to here, because if I'm ever going to pull off the Bulldoze tech, it's probably in a position like this one. They also can Fake Out Solgaleo. And I don't have counterplay to that, but I'm going to click Sunsteel Strike into Whimsicott. Very cool if they let me get away with it. And yeah, Terra Ghost, so they can't fake out Landorus and Bulldoze. Fake out goes into Solgaleo. Okay, fair enough. So Tailwind, I get my Bulldoze. There's a little bit more than I'd like to my own Solgaleo, but good thing the opponent set up Grassy Terrain. We see that it's Covert Cloak Whimsicott, not surprising, of course, in this format. They can Encore Landorus, which I wouldn't especially like. I'm going to Sunsteel Strike into Whimsicott again. I think I'm going to click Sludge Bomb into Rillaboom and hope they let me, because there's nobody I want to switch in this position. Light Screen, okay. Rillaboom takes that Sludge Bomb pretty well, but we'll get rid of Whimsicott here. Well, Rillaboom does get poisoned by the Sludge Bomb as well, so that's something. And who's coming in? Is it their 2 restricted Pokemon in the back, or is it something else? Well, they definitely brought me Miraidon. And I probably want to go ahead and get that Grassy Terrain right back up. What I can do is... okay, if I think it's probably Ice Rider in the back, I probably... Anticipating a Volt Switch from Miraidon, don't want to click Psychic Fangs into it. So this might look a little bit weird when it's Resistance, but I'm going to click Sunsteel Strike into the Miraidon slot and switch Rillaboom in to reduce Miraidon's damage. Grassy Glide into my Rillaboom is fine. It's Electro Drift, so I called that wrong. But +2 Sunsteel Strike, but nothing. It doesn't actually do all that much. Well, okay. What can I do here? I can fake out the Miraidon slot and knock out the Rillaboom. I don't know if that's really favorable for me, but let's just do it, and let's go with Psychic Fangs to break the light screen. Okay, they let me fake out Miraidon. Yeah, we get the KO on Rillaboom. The problem is I think the Ice Rider comes in here, and then what? Yep, there's the Ice Rider. Okay, what I think I can do here, maybe, is protect Solgaleo. This is dangerous if they set Trick Room up, but I don't know if they will when they have Miraidon. Sack Landorus. Try to get Rillaboom back in with Fake Out Pressure again, and that's how I play around the Miraidon being fast. Unless they set Trick Room for some reason, then everything turns on its head. Solgaleo does survive that Electro Drift thanks to Protect. They do just Glacial Lance, so Landorus goes down. That gets Calyrex to +1 attack, but it means that I get Rillaboom right back in. I can fake out Miraidon, and I think I just go for Psychic Fangs into Miraidon, anticipating the Calyrex to protect. Otherwise, I'd take the KO on Calyrex, but yeah, I really thought it would use Protect there. Unfortunately for me, it didn't. So maybe I just lose to it now. But you understand the thought process, right? Well, let's see if I one-shot it with Water Spout, single target, and Rain. But yeah, that looked to me like a really obvious Calyrex Protect because I would go for the KO into it while I flinched Miraidon. But you know, sometimes when you cover for the really obvious play, the opponent does something different and they get you. Still win this one though with a full HP single target Water Spout. So once again, preserving Kyogre pays off nicely, while Solgaleo, honestly, Solgaleo was kind of struggling in that game, but it did what it needed to do. Got a couple of KOs and cleared the way for its teammate. You love to see it. This opponent has Gastrodon, so that makes life a bit harder for Kyogre. Shadow Rider, Zacian, Rillaboom, Gastrodon, Incineroar, Whimsicott. See, I'd almost like to just do Tornadus Tornogre lead in this game, but the Gastrodon is a problem. I do feel less pressure to keep leading Solgaleo now that I've pulled off the weakness policy tech at least once in this video. But it is still nice into Whimsicott. I also could lead Rillaboom and Incineroar in this one. That kind of disrupts any lead that they go with. In fact, I'm going to do that. But then the question is, what is it in the back? And I think it might be Solgaleo Kyogre. Honestly, Kyogre's not even that good here. Well, it is if I get rid of the Gastrodon. The Rillaboom is a problem too. I could do Landorus Solgaleo, but Landorus is kind of underwhelming in that mode. It still has a lot of strong coverage into their team. I'm going to do it and leave Kyogre behind. But maybe I shouldn't be so scared at preview by a Gastrodon and I'll be punished for it. We'll see. They lead Calyrex Whimsicott. So... I mean, I can just, like, Woodhammer and Snarl or something. Woodhammer knockoff. I like Woodhammer here for sure. Let's just click Snarl. This is maybe not super coherent, but okay. They just Moonblast into Incineroar. They get the special attack drop. Incineroar doesn't care about that. Covert Cloak confirmed on the Whimsicott. That is kind of its standard item, so no surprise there. I'm just going to Woodhammer this slot again. I don't think anything likes taking a Woodhammer in grassy terrain. I mean, their Incineroar could take it pretty well. And I think I'm going to click Parting Shot into the Calyrex slot now. Cover for whatever they switch in. It is the Zacian, so we'll get rid of Intrepid Sword immediately. Woodhammer does about a third. Yeah, of course, it'll get some recovery now from the terrain, but... See, I've pivoted Incineroar out. I can show Solgaleo here, actually. I don't have to switch Incineroar back in immediately, because nobody on their team... Well, that's not true. They have Pokemon that can take a Sunsteel Strike, but these two Pokemon don't really want to take a Sunsteel Strike. I'm going to U-turn into the Zacian slot. I can pivot Incineroar back in that way, and I'm going to go for Sunsteel Strike into the Whimsicott slot. It'd be nice if they just let me get this KO. There we go. That's the niche for Zacian, I guess. Just checking Whimsicott. It's not a great niche for a restricted Pokemon, but okay, they taunt Zacian. That's fine. I don't love letting Rillaboom take a ton of damage there, but I knock out the Whimsicott. That's a lot of support for them off the board for the rest of the game, and I will get Incineroar back in here. Zacian's at -1 now. It can pivot out, but of course it's already used its one Intrepid Sword for the battle. Here comes the Calyrex. That's a bit of a problem. I think what I'm going to do is click Snarl, and right, Solgaleo is taunted. I can't protect. I can't really safely switch Rillaboom in. I think I just Terra Fire here and Sunsteel Strike into Calyrex. Try to get damage on that Pokemon while not being weak to the Astral Barrage. We do see the Gastrodon covering for the Kyogre that I didn't bring. They show Will-O-Wisp on the Calyrex. That's a surprise. Fortunately, I accidentally covered for it with the Terra Fire. And then Sunsteel Strike crits, Snarl gets the KO, and the opponent forfeits. So Solgaleo went crazy in this battle. I mean, this is what you want to see in a series like this. I keep talking trash about what a bad restricted Solgaleo is, but it put in work in this game. Amazing stuff. Let's get another one. Zamazenta, Kyogre, Urshifu, Wellspring Mask, Ogerpon, Iron Hands, and for Rigraff. If that's Rapid Strike Urshifu, then they just have 3 Water-type attackers. And Ogerpon's only kind of an attacker. No, Ogerpon's mostly an attacker. But that might be what they have. They might be trying to overwhelm opponents in Rain. Of course, I have my own Rain stuff here. I think this is definitely a Rillaboom game. It could be either a Landorus or Incineroar game. I don't know if I have room to bring both of them. I mean, I think I want to bring my own Kyogre, despite the Wellspring Mask Ogerpon on the other side, and the Iron Hands. Maybe I don't want to bring Kyogre. This could be like Landorus, Incineroar, Rillaboom, Solgaleo in some order. I think that works. Right, because Landorus is an offensive threat into Zamazenta. I don't have Will-O-Wisp on this Incineroar. It might be better if I did, although I'm not sure where I'd find room for it on this team, because I think the Snarl... I think Incineroar is such an important answer to certain types of special attack spam that Snarl was really calling to me in the builder. But yeah, not having Will-O-Wisp for this Zamazenta isn't ideal. That might actually be a good reason to bring Kyogre, because with Landorus I can pressure the Zamazenta to Terra, and then potentially it becomes more vulnerable to some kind of attack on Kyogre. But the Iron Hands is a problem for that. I think I'm going to lead Kyogre, Landorus, and bring Rillaboom and Solgaleo and just hope that I figure it out. Yeah, I guess I talked myself out of Incineroar, even though it could still be good to intimidate Ogerpon and Iron Hands. They lead Ogerpon, Zamazenta. I think I'm just gonna go for a Thunder into somebody. Let's go into Zamazenta to try to cover for something. And I'm gonna click Sandsear Storm. They could Wide Guard. I don't know that you do that in this position when you have your water immunity on the board anyway. But this is a way that I could burn either one of these Pokemon. They do let me get the Sandsear Storm. Big damage into Zamazenta, and it does get the burn. And it's coaching Zamazenta into the Ogerpon. That's interesting. Thunder doesn't quite KO. Horn Leech KOs Kyogre back. Alright. Don't love losing Kyogre that quickly. The burn on Zamazenta is nice. It's going to drop to burn damage next turn anyway. It is Sand Force. Yes. Yeah, I don't blame them for not seeing that coming. The reason that I have it is pretty scuffed, to say the least. I guess I go Rillaboom here. Resist the attacks from Ogerpon. I have the big wood hammer available. Or I can fake out. Let's fake out Sludge Bomb this turn. They might just Spiky Shield, but what else am I doing really here? They do let me get the fake out and Sludge Bomb. And it poisons. Alright, Sandforest Landorus kind of putting in some work here. I forgot that with the grassy terrain, though, the Zamazenta would be able to recover. But even so, the burn is nerfing it pretty hard. Here, I think I can Grassy Glide and get rid of Zamazenta. See what happens here. Grassy Glide doesn't do that much actually through the defense boost. And they knock Landorus down to its sash. Okay. Guess I should have wood hammered. Now it's definitely in Grassy Glide range. Still haven't seen the Spiky Shield. You'd think they probably have that. It is Rapid Strike or Shifu. I'm sure it can take a KO on Landorus here. I don't especially want to switch Solgaleo in to take big water type damage instead. Let's go for damage into Urshifu. And I'll click a Sludge Bomb into the Urshifu slot as well in case it has a Focus Sash. But also I think Landorus goes down before it gets to attack here anyway. But I don't want to switch Solgaleo in. Yep, they knock out Landorus. Big damage into Urshifu. Big damage back from that Ivy Cudgel. Poison damage knocks out Ogerpon. There's their Kyogre. I can go for Grassy. They haven't Terra'd, right? I think I just want to hope that Solgaleo is faster than Kyogre and that Psychic Fangs chips it nicely. Let's go for the KO into Urshifu, and yeah, just Psychic Fangs into Kyogre. Terra Water, but it just drops to Grassy Glide. Kyogre does move next, however. It does not get a KO into anything. That's huge. There's still a turn of Grassy Terrain left. I still have one more priority Grassy Glide. And I'll click Psychic Fangs again. And Grassy Glide gets the KO. Alright. Sandforce Landorus kind of coming through in that one. I guess there's some upside to that whole builder quirk with the Bulldoze tech. Kyogre, Zacian, Rillaboom, Ogerpon, Cornerstone Mask Form, Incineroar, and Grimmsnarl. Oh dear. Let's just Bulldoze. Bring Kyogre. And I don't hate Incineroar in this one. Actually, maybe I should leave Kyogre behind and bring Incineroar Rillaboom. I don't know if that has enough damage, though, that mode. I'm gonna do it, though. Okay, they lead Incineroar Zacian. I kind of want to Terra both of my Pokemon here, and obviously I can't actually do that. I'm going to drop the Bulldoze idea for now. Protect, Terra Ghost, Sandsear Storm, see what happens. Okay, they fake out into Landorus, but they also Behemoth Blade into Landorus, knocks it down to its Sash. Probably not getting the Bulldoze tech this game, but I did get big damage there. And I think I'm down to just click Sunsteel Strike into Zacian. I'll try to Bulldoze now. I don't think they'll let me. Rillaboom comes in. Oh, they protect. Okay, I do get the Bulldoze. Nice. In Grassy Terrain at that. There's my weakness policy. I'm down to sack Landorus here. Get like Incineroar in. I don't have to sack it, do I? I can just hard switch Incineroar in. There's no reason to let Landorus go down here. Yep, there's the Intimidate. Intrepid Sword is gone forever now. Sacred Sword into Solgaleo. Solgaleo gets back up to full here, and I can Sunsteel Strike. Yeah, I'll Sunsteel Strike the Zacian slot. Parting Shot Rillaboom slot. They protect Zacian, okay. I was thinking about doubling into that slot. I guess I'm glad that I didn't. Who's coming in for me now? It can be Rillaboom, I guess. Give me Fake Out Pressure. They get their Rillaboom out of here for Incineroar. I actually think I'll just hard switch my... Rillaboom out to Incineroar. Get another Intimidate onto Zacian. They're not making it easy to actually do damage with this +2 Solgaleo, which is fair enough, of course. But I'm weakening their Zacian enough that I can pretty freely target the other slot, I think. They don't have as much protection there. Okay, Behemoth Blade into Incineroar and Will-O-Wisp. We don't care about any of that, but it's good to know that they have Will-O-Wisp. I kind of don't want to close combat the Incineroar slot because of the defense drop, but I don't have to worry about it as they forfeit. And the pivot duo of Incineroar Rillaboom was putting in pretty good work for me there, so I feel like I chose well in those two Pokemon slots. But I still haven't brought Tornadus to a game, have I? I think Tornadus can be good here. I mean, Tailwind is very beneficial to both Solgaleo and Kyogre. It's just I haven't... With the Solgaleo stuff being such a focus, I haven't found room to bring Tornadus. And I don't think this hard Trick Room matchup is the matchup for it. I think I actually just lead with my two restricted Pokemon into this. Right? Solgaleo, Kyogre, big damage, hard for them to deal with it. Potentially. A lot might come down to the Terra type on this Ice Rider Calyrex. I'll bring Incineroar and Rillaboom as well. And yeah, hope to just overwhelm them, but if they have an answer to that, then I probably lose. And that's kind of how it goes with Hard Trick Room. I'll Sunsteel Strike into the Calyrex slot. They'll probably redirect it, but that's, you know... I'll get that attack off if I can. And Water Spout. It is Terra Water. That's what I was afraid of, basically. Oh, I forgot that Sunsteel Strike ignores abilities. Hey, there's something for Solgaleo here. I mean, I still missed the KO into Calyrex, but imagine if I clicked Thunder, had I known about the Water Terra. I mean, I thought it might be Terra Water, but... I forgot that Sunsteel Strike just KOs Cornerstone, Mask, Ogerpon through Sturdy. That's pretty cool. That's a nice little moment for this video. Here, I think I want to... Origin Pulse? And switch Incineroar in for Solgaleo, get an Intimidate into this Ursaluna. I think Ursaluna probably protects to get its Flame Orb anyway. Okay, apparently I'm mistaken. Incineroar takes a headlong rush. It does actually survive with Ursaluna not burned. But they get a Zen Headbutt flinch on Kyogre. Wow. That Origin Pulse was taking potentially 2 KOs. Obviously, it also has to hit, but potentially 2 KOs if they didn't get that Zen Headbutt flinch. But that's Pokemon. Fake Out into Ursaluna, and I forgot. I'm locked into Water Spout. I did not click Origin Pulse. Maybe I need to pivot Kyogre out and get the option for Origin Pulse back. I can pivot Rillaboom in here. Then I'm threatening Priority Grassy Glide into Calyrex unless they happen to Glacial Lance me this turn, which they do. Rillaboom survives, though. Thank you, Intimidate. Yeah, now I can click Priority Grassy Glide. And I'm willing to let Incineroar go down here. I guess I'll just click Parting. Or maybe I should sack Solgaleo so I can get another Intimidate from Incineroar. I actually do think that's better. They let me have the Grassy Glide into Calyrex, so that is knocked out. Swords Dance Ursaluna, that's pretty scary. But it is about to be the last turn of Trick Room. We see Breloom come in. I'm just going to protect Solgaleo. And I guess Grassy Glide or Saluna. Which knocks it out with the defense drop. Very nice. Brick Break on the Breloom. That's quite the tech. I guess I'll go Incineroar. Get the Intimidate into Breloom. I'll click Psychic Fangs and Fake Out. And it looks like that wins the game. No need to bring Kyogre back in the end. Solgaleo nicely closing this one out. This is going way better than I expected, actually, in these last few games. Is this the same opponent again with the Gastrodon? I don't know whether this is the same person or not. When I start to suspect that, that's usually a sign to wrap up the video, but I'll definitely get at least one more game after this one, however it turns out. In any case... Let's finally get the Tornadus into a game. That means I'm not bringing Incineroar to check Zacian. I'll just have to offensively check it with Landorus and Solgaleo. But if I can get Tailwind up, then maybe that gets a little bit easier. Of course, them having Whimsicott can be tricky because their restricted Pokemon are faster than mine. So if we both have Tailwind, I still lose that. But we'll see how it goes. I gotta get Tornadus into a game eventually, right? And you gotta love the Tornadus Landorus lead. Just these two very similar dudes sitting next to each other on their clouds. They're really thinking about this one. Almost out of time. Yep, that's what we got here. Whimsicott, Shadow Rider. So yeah, they can just blast me with Astral Barrage. But I mean, I'll click Tailwind if only to match it. And do I need damage into Calyrex? Or I mean, I'd really like to just Sludge Bomb this Whimsicott, but I think the answer is, oh, you know what? I can click Bulldoze and slow down the Calyrex. That's what I think the answer is here. This will knock Landorus down to its Sash, but inherently that means it doesn't KO. I guess Encore Whimsicott could make me kind of sad now. Well, you know what? It can only Encore one of my Pokemon. Bleak Windstorm, Earth Power. One of these attacks is probably coming out here, unless the Shadow Rider is still faster. Okay, they Encore Tornadus. But yeah, I get my Earth Power, does some decent chip. They're going to go ahead and take 2 Grim Neigh boosts here. I do not know that this was a winning line for me, but I now get Solgaleo and Rillaboom. I have priority Grassy Glide into the Shadow Rider. I'm just going to click Sunsteel Strike into Whimsicott and Grassy Glide into Shadow Rider. They might want to switch the Shadow Rider out anyway to reset the Bulldoze drop. Getting rid of Whimsicott would be nice, although maybe it's not that important anymore when I never get Tailwind back up and the restricteds are faster than mine anyway, but I hate dealing with Encore. Encore really messes me up sometimes. It's the curse, I think, of starting in Gen 8 VGC, like the only generation that move was bad. But yeah, Whimsicott puts out so much pressure, at least for me. I do want that gone, if they'll let me Sunsteel Strike it here. Zacian just mowing down Whimsicott has been, or not Zacian, Solgaleo just mowing down opposing Whimsicott has been a real upside to using it here. And there goes another one. Calyrex protecting here isn't great, nor is Zacian being taunted because that means it can't protect. Although, I mean, I don't think I can rely on Rillaboom to. I can't do like a protect Woodhammer play anyway because the Calyrex is at +2. I'm just gonna Sunsteel Strike and Grassy Glide. Hope the Grassy Glide KOs. It does. So, okay, so the Sunsteel Strike, if it goes at all, will go into Zacian. They crit Rillaboom and knock it out. Sunsteel Strike does about half the Zacian, but then of course my own grassy terrain kind of punishes me here. Gastrodon comes in. I have no way to turn off Zacian's weakness to Earth Power, but I can at least make it resist Behemoth Blade. Let's see if I can get a KO into this Zacian. I keep calling my Solgaleo Zacian, but you know what I mean. They Sacred Sword, so the Behemoth Blade resistance doesn't matter. I do not get the KO. I get yawned. I'm going to say that Zacian protects this turn, and I'm going to click Psychic Fangs into Gastrodon and be disappointed by the damage. Yeah, that doesn't do a whole lot. And they just beat me with Earth Power from here. They actually do give me the weakness policy, but it doesn't matter as Solgaleo falls asleep. And that kind of makes me think maybe this is the same opponent that I played earlier, and they knew about the weakness policy, and that's why they used the yawn first. Totally plausible, but I don't know. I didn't memorize their username. They said, "I win, you lose" in chat, which, yeah, I kind of knew that one already, but sure. GG, I suppose. And I'll get at least one more game. Maybe only one, we'll see. If it's a loss, then definitely only one. If it's a win, I'll play it by ear. Alright, we got a Smeargle Ice Rider team. That's pretty scary. I kind of want to lead Kyogre Landorus, because then I can Terra Ghost Landorus. If Smeargle goes for Fake Out into that slot, I can get 2 attacks off. If not, I can still get 1 attack off. I mean, yeah, I think that's fine. Solgaleo and Cineroar helps to check their Ice Rider, but not Kyogre. Rillaboom helps to check Kyogre, but not so much Ice Rider. I think Rillaboom here. I can still click Priority Grassy Glide into Ice Rider, at least if the Farigiraf isn't on the field. They lead Incineroar Farigiraf, which is interesting. I mean, I think they just want to Fake Out Trick Room, right? I think Kyogre is a pretty obvious Fake Out target here, but I'm going to click Water Spout anyway. I mean, I have choice specs. There's not much I can do. But I think because they're probably going to Fake Out Kyogre, and if they Fake Out Landorus, they can't Fake Out Kyogre, and then I get the Water Spout, which is fine. I'm not going to use the Terra Ghost on Landorus right now. I'm just going to click an Earth Power. Yeah, I'm just going to click a raw Sandsear Storm. They do Fake Out Kyogre. Sandsear does pretty big damage to Farigiraf, not to Incineroar. You know what? It would do more damage with Sheer Force, I'll tell you that. They do get their Trick Room here. They probably want damage into Kyogre. They could also go for Parting Shot. I can either just click Origin Pulse regardless, or I can pivot to Solgaleo here and block a Parting Shot, and I actually do think I like the sound of that. Bulldoze could be kind of funny in this position, actually. The problem with Bulldoze, of course, is it's actually disadvantageous when the opponent is playing Trick Room that it doesn't lower Solgaleo's speed, but it lowers their speed, but I don't think it really matters. I'm going to go for it anyway and get my weakness policy. Terra Fairy on the Farigiraf. Solgaleo takes that Dazzling Gleam just fine. They go for knockoff into Solgaleo and not Parting Shot, so goodbye Solgaleo. Should have just clicked Sandsear Storm instead of Bulldoze, but hey, I tried to make a play. So it goes sometimes. I guess I'll go Rillaboom here, keep trying to kill the Trick Room turns, but Solgaleo is pretty hard pressed to win the rest of this game. However, I can't Fake Out because they have Farigiraf. Alright, I'll just click Woodhammer into Farigiraf and Sandsear Storm. I still have Rain, so Sandsear Storm at least will hit its targets if it gets the opportunity to. They Helping Hand U-turn, that's a funny tech. They also crit Rillaboom. It survives, but at only 5% HP. I guess it'll be knocked out by its own Woodhammer recoil this turn. But it does take Farigiraf with it. That Helping Hand U-turn crit was pretty funny, though. Sandsear Storm, single target, does about a third to Calyrex. No burn, unfortunately. And I just have Kyogre and Landorus left with no Protect on either one. They can go Incineroar, they can Fake Out Kyogre. There's nothing I can do to stop that. I still could Terrastalize Landorus. I don't know that it's worth it. But I definitely don't think there's any reason to use my Terra on Kyogre in this position, and I don't know, maybe Landorus takes one Glacial Lance. I don't think so, but I'll give it a try. They Fake Out Kyogre, that was pretty obvious. They Glacial Lance, and yeah, it does KO Landorus. That's what I figured, but I didn't see any better use for my Terra than to try that. And since I don't have Protect on Kyogre, I do just drop to the Ice Rider Calyrex here. So a couple of tough losses to end the video on here, but Solgaleo honestly put in more work than I expected. And yeah, just I feel like Solgaleo just plowed right through a field of Whimsicott there. Leaving devastation in its wake, and you know what? There's something to be said for that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not some Whimsicott hater or something. I really like the Pokemon, but it can be very frustrating to play against, and just sniping it with Sunsteel Strike was a lot of fun this video. KOing Quarterstone Mask Ogerpon through Sturdy was also pretty fun. And just all the times that I actually managed to activate the weakness policy and deal out big damage with Sunsteel Strike and Psychic Fangs was a lot of fun. I don't think I ever clicked Close Combat, so maybe I would have been better off with Trick Room after all, but, you know, these are first draft teams that I'm throwing at the ladder with randomly selected legendary Pokemon. There are going to be some bugs to figure out here and there, and to me that's part of the charm of doing something like this, because you get a kind of a flawed team sometimes and you just have to improvise and deal with it. Like I mentioned last video, that Gen 7 Uber's team that I made that had no ground resist, because I just didn't think of that, and I just had to play more aggressively than usual, and that was a lot of fun. In any case, I really did enjoy Weakness Policy Solgaleo. I don't think it's viable in high-level tournament play, but there may be a better way to set it up for some ladder fun. But I will, of course, be rolling a different legendary Pokemon next week, and we'll see how that one goes. Hopefully, the fun will continue.